Hello, and welcome to our online King Yoga event, Mysteries of the Goddess Earth. My name is Lisa Rosser, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about our home, the beautiful Mother Earth, a living, breathing, highly advanced spiritual being. I hope that after this event you feel that you've gained a greater understanding and appreciation of the Earth and what she sacrificed for us, and that you feel even more inspired than you already are to help her. But first, I'd like to explain the concept of King Yoga. King Yoga is named after Dr. George King, a Western master of yoga, a great adept and metaphysician, and founder of the Aetherius Society. He's also authored many books on spirituality, a few of which I'll mention this evening. He was an extraordinary man. He practiced yoga for 8 to 10 hours a day for a decade while holding a full-time job. I don't mean that he practiced hatha yoga for exercise, but he became a master in several different types of yoga, mantra yoga, bhakti yoga, Agni yoga, and several more. And because of his advanced state, he was able to communicate with and channel cosmic masters who live on the higher frequencies of vibration on other planets. King Yoga is what we call the spiritual path of the Aetherius Society, and there's 3 aspects to King Yoga. The first is wisdom. This is the wisdom of the masters that we can learn and incorporate into our everyday lives. The second is practice. Spiritual practices that will help us along our spiritual paths. And finally, service, where we give service to others and to our world. So in this King Yoga event this evening, we'll experience all 3 of these. We'll play a couple of extracts from Dr. King, and I'll also read an amazing description of when he came into contact with the life stream of Earth herself. I'd like to start now with a reading from a book, Visit to the Logos of Earth. And this was written by Dr. King in 1979. And I'll have a few short readings from this book throughout the evening. This is what he has to say. One lesson which I will never forget was, strangely enough, one which I have always known ever since I was a very small child. But this truth was brought home to me more forcibly than ever before. It's a simple truth and an obvious one, but has been overlooked by mankind for centuries. It's a truth which the more highly evolved beings living on other planets in the solar system have known about for thousands of years. Very simply stated, the truth is this: the most holy, the most sacred, the most godlike being you have ever physically touched is the ground beneath your feet. The most holy, yet few regard her in this way. We have studied the Mother Earth throughout the centuries, but there's much that we don't yet know. We have beautiful aerial footage of the surface, but we only know roughly 10 miles below the surface, and that's only because that's where the farthest drill has dug down to. This is really hardly anything, considering that the diameter of Earth is just under 8,000 miles. Similarly, we've begun to explore outer space, but we've not yet explored what's in the deepest parts of our own oceans. So there's much that we don't know about the Earth, but we do have outstanding teachings from the cosmic masters. Core to these teachings is that the Mother Earth is a living, breathing, highly advanced spiritual being who sacrificed a great deal to allow us to live here. The belief that our planet is a living female intelligence is not new. We've known this for thousands of years in so-called primitive cultures. The ancient Greeks had Gaia, and the Incas have Pachamama. And this is carried on today in some cultures. For example, the Maoris have Papatuanuku. She's a conscious, living, breathing entity with thoughts and feelings just like any other living being, although given her high state of advancement, she experiences these in a way that we can't quite understand. Another core teaching of the Cosmic Masters is on karma and reincarnation. And karma is often misunderstood to be a punishment. If you do something wrong or bad, something bad will happen to you. And that's not really a full picture of what karma is. Karma is a teacher, but a compassionate one. The Master Jesus says, "As you sow, so shall you reap." And the Lord Buddha says action and reaction are opposite and equal. Now, both of these are describing karma, but they were worded in a way to be understood by different audiences at different times. Dr. King had another description of karma. He said karma is pressure. Karma is guiding us and pushing us along our spiritual paths in our everyday lives so that we can have the experiences that we need in order to learn. Karma and reincarnation are inseparable, and reincarnation is a logical consequence of karma. When we die, we won't have worked out all of our karma. What has been sown will not all have been reaped, and there will not have been an opposite and equal reaction to every thought and every action that we've had. Therefore, logically speaking, we can't cease to exist. We must carry on. We have our own individual karma, but we also have the karma of the world as a whole. All of us, humanity together, our group karma. But in the spirit of learning more about the Mother Earth, I'd like to read to you another extract from the book, Visit to the Logos of Earth. And in this extract, Dr. King is describing the Mother Earth. This planet is a living, breathing entity. It is an ancient entity, and in comparison with man, a very advanced entity. It's a female entity. The mass of liquid which covers most of the surface of this planet, and which, in deep occult circles, represents psychic power, illustrates that the life stream, or logos, of this planet is female in character. Unlike certain other planets in the solar system, Earth is very temperate in environmental conditions and is continually promoting the growth of vegetation, animals, and human bodies alike. Another striking indication of her female characteristics. Some planets, male in character, are, from a temperature point of view, not nearly as temperate. Neither is their surface covered by vast stretches of water and vegetation. Even though such planets are habitable, they can only be inhabited by entities advanced enough to live under such conditions. Another definite indication of the female characteristics of our logos, continual promotion and propagation of life in multitudinous forms from her body is perpetually taking place. We're told that because of the extreme fertility of Earth, it is, in many respects, the most pleasant planet upon which to live. Isn't that so very true? So how did we come to call the Mother Earth our home? The truth of our history of how we came here is stranger than fiction, I think you'll agree. Millions of years ago, there was another planet in our solar system, and this planet's name was Maldak. This planet's orbit was between Mars and Jupiter, and it was a living, green, prosperous planet. And Maldek was our previous home. We lived on this planet, and we were relatively advanced, more so than we are here on Earth today. We were highly mechanized. We had robots take care of all of our menial tasks. We could travel into space, although not very far. And we were also able to control the weather, so we didn't have any drought and any famine. So we had an abundance of food and no menial tasks. And the majority of the population began to live lazy, selfish lives, living only for their own enjoyment. Some scientists shunned this majority of people, and in their search for material conquest, began to study the atom. And they created a hydrogen bomb, and they detonated it, and it destroyed the whole planet and all who lived upon it in one blinding flash. We murdered a planet, and it's now the asteroid belt. It's a terrible tragedy. From a living green being to a cold, lifeless rock, the remains of a broken world. Our civilization needed a place to live, to reincarnate upon, and the Mother Earth, in her great compassion, allowed us to live here, to evolve through experience. Imagine that, allowing a civilization that murdered another planet to come and live on your back. And we can't imagine this really. We can't understand the compassion and sacrifice that's needed to make that kind of decision. And still, 18 million years later, since we came here, we have not yet learned to live peacefully or to properly respect the Mother Earth. After the Earth allowed us to come here, we eventually built up another civilization, and this civilization is known as Lemuria. And we prospered for a time in Lemuria. We had a much finer culture than we have today on Earth, and the Lemurians established a liaison between themselves and the planets Mars and Venus. And we learned a lot from the Martians and the Venusians. But still, there were those in search of material conquest. And scientists, evil magicians really, once again began to study the atom and atomic weapons. And again, we destroyed our civilization with atomic experimentation. Not the Earth, but our civilization. After this destruction, the ionosphere, or the ring past naught, as it's sometimes known, was put up around the planet by cosmic beings. This kept cosmic energies, cosmic rays, from reaching mankind, as at our current state of evolution, these rays would have been fatal to us. But this also meant that the Earth, who benefited from these energies, was not able to receive them. Thousands of years after Lemuria, we had evolved again out of our gross limitation, enough to create another civilization, and this is known as Atlantis. Now, lots of people have talked about Atlantis through the ages. Plato had a description of it in which these images here are based on. It was, of course, not a specific location, but a whole civilization. We started to have culture again, slowly at first, but eventually flourishing. Space travel was established, but in Atlantis, there were actually some who wanted to gain control of the solar system. But again, the majority didn't care much. They were content to live in their procrastination, lackadaisical, selfish lives. Once again, we opened Pandora's box and began to have atomic weapons. And again, we destroyed ourselves with atomic experimentation. The ionosphere was made stronger, and more cosmic energies were kept away from us and kept away from the Mother Earth. Suffice to say that we have not treated the Mother Earth well, and that is a massive understatement. Today, we still destroy each other. We detonate bombs, atomic bombs, not just on the Earth's surface, but also underground and underwater. We treat the Earth as if her resources are ours for the taking. No reasonable person would believe that 3 times in succession, intelligent people would make the same mistake again. But as I say, it's stranger than fiction, but nevertheless, absolutely true. This is just a brief outline of our history. You can find a more detailed description in the book, The 9 Freedoms, which you can find a link to in the description, but I think also we'll put it in the chat. I'd like now to introduce a poetic description from the 12 Blessings. The 12 Blessings was a series of blessings given by the Master Jesus in 1958, channeled through Dr. George King. And in the 12 blessings, the 7th blessing is dedicated to the Mother Earth. And this is part of what the Master Jesus had to say. Blessed is the Logos of this earth. She weeps not when the Vandals do tear her body with wounds. She weeps not when the fools do commit foul acts against the very nature which forms her fruits. As yet, man, she has borne you. I request most strongly now that you do not take such for granted. She has not as yet demanded that you change or leave. Change or leave, that might sound dramatic, but if you think about what we've done to the planet Maldek and then in Lemuria and Atlantis, I think it shows the Earth's just tremendous compassion for us. It's wonderful. But what does this mean, change or leave? Where would we go? The Cosmic Masters have stated that at some point, the Mother Earth will raise her energy vibration and the ionosphere will be taken down. When the ionosphere is taken down, there will be 100% cosmic ray bombardment at sea level. Now currently, we only have a fraction of this reaching the Himalayas, and even less cosmic ray bombardment reaching sea level. But when this happens, only certain people will be able to live on Earth. Only those who are capable of living at this higher vibratory rate. The others will have to be reborn on another planet. And Dr. King tells us that this other planet is in our solar system, but because of its location, it's currently invisible. And this other planet isn't a threat. It's just that at some point, the Mother Earth will have to move on with her evolution. And if we aren't able to change with her, we have to go somewhere where we can have the experiences that we need to have in order to move on with our evolution. But we won't have the richness of experience that is offered here on Earth. And being born on another planet is actually another act of compassion. What would happen otherwise? Would we be forced to live on a planet where we can't sustain our lives because of the vibration? So it's really an act of compassion. But that being said, anybody can choose to stay. We're told what we need to do. We need to raise our vibrations, raise our consciousness. We need to choose to stay. On July the 8th, 1964, the Earth received her primary initiation. And in this initiation, she received from cosmic sources through satellite number 3, which you can see on your screen, she received more energy than she has ever received since her inception as a planet. And this is now bringing about great change in the world. Some of these changes include that the ionosphere is gradually being taken down. We'll have more natural disasters, earthquakes, tidal waves, droughts, etc. And the new age is dawning. After the earth raises her vibrations, there will be a beautiful new world. And the cosmic masters have given us a little bit of information about what this new world will be like. We're told we'll be able to cure the disease of old age. We'll be able to travel further into space, not just in our solar system, but out into the galaxy. There'll be no seasons. The Earth will change her location in relation to the sun. We'll have no fear of war or weapons. We won't have to break down customs barriers because we won't have countries. We'll have inhabited land and inhabited sea, and that's all. Another master will come to Earth to lead us in this new age, and we'll also be working more closely with the spiritual hierarchy of Earth. Now, the spiritual hierarchy of Earth is often thought of as ascended masters, but it can also include unascended masters and even adepts. I'd like now to play an extract of Dr. George King going into more detail about the seventh blessing, "Blessed is the Mother Earth." And I've chosen this extract because I think he describes the Earth in a really beautiful way. And he also talks about why she makes the sacrifice that she makes. He'll read some words that were channeled from the Master Jesus, and then he will provide some commentary on them. So let's play this first extract.
Blessed is she who, instead of taking the unlimited gowns allowed to this goddess, did accept material limitations so that you, the lower aspects of God, could walk through experience back to God again. That one sentence alone, without anything else in this book, could appear in the book, and the book would still be a brilliant jewel in the annals of literature. That one sentence. Blessed is she who, instead of going through her great cosmic initiation, which would rise her higher in the heavens, the limited gowns allowed to this goddess, the unlimited gowns of what? The unlimited gowns or cloaks of initiation. This is a symbolic way of putting it, the gowns of initiation, unlimited gowns, the gowns which gave to her a rightful place in the heavens. She cast them aside. I will wait for 2, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 years, and I will help these little people along. It's a fantastic story, this. It's far, far more fantastic than any science fiction. It's so fantastic that it's almost absurd. We're not talking about a few years' suffering now. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of years of self-imposed limitation in order to allow the microbes a chance. She accepted material limitation. She had to. She had to accept material limitation. One limitation she had to accept was the ring past naught, or the ionosphere. Why? Because as our bodies throughout the centuries became grosser and grosser and grosser, we could not withstand the ultraviolet rays or the cosmic rays. The cosmic rays, we couldn't withstand them, and as a result, the ring past naught had to be put there, as the theosophists call it, or the ionosphere, as the scientists call it, had to be put there by other powers. Now this held up the cosmic rays from the Earth. We have been responsible for almost the spiritual starvation of this Earth. In fact, had it not been for the Sanat Kumara, who left Venus 18,800,000 years ago, foreseeing exactly what would happen, the Earth would have spiritually starved. But the Senate, being a male entity, the Lord of the Flame, he helped this female entity, which is this earth, through her difficult times, so that she did not spiritually starve. The lower aspects of God could walk through experience back to God again. This earth offered the only way back to God, the only way. Mars couldn't have given you these self-same set of experiences, neither could any other planet. That's why this earth was picked. That is the reason why it was picked. That's why you are here. Not by chance, but because on this earth, this is the only place you can gain these experiences. Walk back to God. Walk, move back to God again. Take your rightful place in the heavens as great masters and adepts and so on, which eventually people will be.
Very powerful extract. I think Dr. King does a wonderful job there of describing what the earth has sacrificed for us. We're all on this evolutionary journey, and the Mother Earth is on her journey as well, though very clearly much farther along than we are. But we're told what we need to do. We need to raise our vibrations, raise our consciousness, so that we can be more in tune with our higher selves, so we can focus more on being compassionate and service to others. If all of us raised our consciousness, we would not be warring, we would not be arguing about politics, we would be helping each other and helping the Mother Earth. None of us will qualify for the New Age unless we work for it, but if we do, it can be the greatest spiritual adventure of our lifetimes. I'd like now to play another extract for you. It's just another 4-minute extract. And in this extract, Dr. King is talking about our time on Earth now, why it's so important, and why it's such a wonderful opportunity. And this was recorded in a lecture hall in 1960.
Of all the history that this earth has ever seen, today's history, or shall we say yesterday's history, will be the greatest. Of all the times that it's been possible to live upon this earth, this time will be the most exciting. All of you have lived before upon this earth. Of all your numerous incarnations upon this earth, this incarnation is the most important, because it is in these days when mankind is given the greatest, the most divine opportunity of all. It is in these days when mankind will be able to prove to the cosmic hierarchy that he is ready for the new world, or to prove to the cosmic hierarchy that he is ready to be reborn again upon a similar planet to the earth today and drag his miserable way through a history which he carves for himself. Again, a bloody history if he wants it. A history of hate, greed, war, thieving if he wants it. Or a golden millennium if he wants it. I cannot overstress this fact. Let us just for the moment forget that this is a lecture hall. Let us only think upon these things which are basic cosmic logic. I cannot overstress the fact, my friends, that you have in your hands now the magic wand, the rod of power. This rod of power is powered by yourselves. It is you yourselves that can control, with this rod of power, the super-conscious mind, that can control the conscious mind in such a way that your actions will become exemplary in comparison with what they are now. Control your conscious mind in such a way that you need no longer limit yourself, but you can draw upon the great powers of the universe which are yours. Isn't it fantastic when you come to realize it? Take one look at yourselves in the mirror, and if you can stand the shock, you'll still say, good heavens, what a ghastly looking sight I am. And yet within that ghastly looking sight is the potential of the whole universe. And it is today that you can realize that potential. What you've been in past lives doesn't count. What you are today does, because it's today's action that's going to carve tomorrow for you.
Today's actions will carve our tomorrows. Action and reaction. We will reap what we have sown. It's incredible the opportunities that we have and that we've chosen to be on the earth at this time. Let's not go down the same path that we have with Lemuria and Atlantis. Let's change this time. Let's get it right. In 1979, due to his outstanding service that he'd given to the Mother Earth, Dr. King was invited to view a small aspect of the logos of this planet, or life stream. And he describes this in the book, Visit to the Logos of Earth. I'll read this, and I think you'll find it's an incredibly moving description. After I read the extract, we'll join in a guided visualization, and then we'll all join in a prayer for the Mother Earth. And just a little bit about prayer, it's one of the best ways that we can give service. And service is the best way to raise our vibrations, raise our consciousness, and help us change. It may seem like it's just a simple task, but giving service doesn't need to be difficult or complicated. And when we pray, we'll pray a little differently than you may be used to. A lot of people have learned to pray with their hands together in front of their hearts. Now, this isn't the best way to pray because we have psychic centers or chakras in the palms of our hands and also in our heart center. So when we pray with our hands together, the energy that we're sending out is actually just going in a cycle within ourselves. So Dr. King has taught us to pray with our hands like so. So the chakras are open and energy can flow right out. When we join in the prayer, you may actually feel this energy coming out. But if you don't worry about it. It doesn't mean that it's not working. But first, let's start with some deep breathing. Relax into it. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Try to take your mind off the day and be calm. Shrug your shoulders and relax. Make your breath slow and even. And do this for a few moments. Just relax and breathe. I'm now going to read this extract, and as I do, try to visualize the picture that Dr. King is painting. a small aspect of the planetary logos of Terra. The words floated into my somewhat dazed mind as one of the lords, with a gesture of his hand, invited me to go forward. I did so, almost hypnotized by the blinding light ahead of me, until I came to what I have termed the structure. It was rather like steps leading up to an altar, but an altar with a difference. The steps were huge in comparison with any cathedral steps I've ever seen. They must have been 200 or 300 yards long, and at a guess, 50 yards wide. They were made of the same type of crystalline substance as the floor, at least some of them were. As the steps went upwards, they became more and more translucent, until near the top of the altar, or dais, they were so translucent that the tremendous surging light beyond shone through them. I did not dare to go any nearer than the bottom step until invited to, but watched in fascination. At the top of the steps was a curved arc made of white crystal, which, like the smaller steps leading up to it, was translucent, but it was not that upon which I concentrated so much as the tremendous surging light beyond. Without the visor, I would not have been able to stand the emanation for a second, and I knew it. Without the protective suit, I would have been burnt to a crisp, not by the heat, but by the vibrations which emanated from this massive, surging light, flickering like some strange, cold fire, yet burning in an all-consuming way. And yet not that, because it did not seem to consume, but rather to be built up from itself. It was as though there was an atomic cycle going on here, as you would imagine the atomic cycle on a miniature sun. The molecules split to atoms. The atoms were rearranged in some mysterious way unknown to science, to form other atoms, which grew in clusters into molecules to be broken down again, as though an inner procreation was taking place from itself, or so it seemed to me. As a matter of fact, the more I gazed intently into this tremendous, living mystic flame, the more I seemed to understand her. I stood there transfixed, paralyzed, absolutely fascinated by the indescribable movement within this living flame. As I gazed in fascinated awe at the stupendous power within this flame, she seemed to change before my very eyes, and for a fraction of a second, she would take on a definite shape, like a large ovoid or part of an ovoid, and then a circle, and then millions of squares, oblongs, pyramids, hexagons, and then these would disappear, and the flame itself would revert back to giant multicolored fingers of mystic fire reaching upwards. I could view this through the large arc, which must have been, and this is only a guess, at least 150 to 200 feet wide and 200 or 300 feet tall. I was gazing at the life form of a cosmic being, so advanced as to become the logos of a planet. The thought was staggering. The sight was so magnificent as to be terrifying. How many men before me have been awed by this experience, I do not know. but I do know that I was thrilled to my very soul. Seldom have I lived as I lived then. Typical of yours truly, whose life has been devoted to helping mankind, my thoughts drifted to the ignorance and turmoil on the surface, and then to the fact that here was a part, the Lords had told me, but a small part, of the life force of a planet, Earth. A life force who had colossal powers at her disposal, which she could use at any time, but did not do so, because to do so would have been to destroy the millions of humanoids crawling over the surface of her massive, breathing, beautiful body. I wanted to weep, and I did so. I have seen kind deeds, and heard of kinder deeds, but never a deed as compassionate as this. Here she was, confined to her self-imposed prison of limitation, so that you and I and billions more of us could work our way through our present experience cycle. We'll now join in a brief guided visualization to help us tune in with the Mother Earth. Try to visualize from deep within the earth a violet flame coming up. A vibrant violet flame. Allow this to come up. It's a protective, transmuting flame. If you're having trouble visualizing this, send a blessing to the earth and it will come. Try to see this coming up through your feet. The flame isn't hot. It's a velvety, cooling flame. See this coming up through your legs. And try to see this coming up through your legs as well as outside of it as it moves upwards. Bring this now through the hips and your trunk. Try to see all of your internal organs filled with this vibrant, caressing violet flame. Next, see this flame coming up through and out the top of your head. See yourself seated in a pillar of this vibrant violet flame. Allow this to go up some 30 or 40 feet. And relax into this for a few moments. The Cosmic Masters have said that this violet flame practice has been kept secret for 100,000 years, only available in mystery schools. It's an extremely powerful practice. This can be used several times a day as a protective and cleansing practice, and I welcome you all to use it in your lives. Now detach from this visualization and bring your mind upwards into space. See there a white, scintillating light, like sun on snow. Bring down this white light through the space, down into the room where you are, and into the top of your head. Allow this white light to fill your brain, charging every cell. Try to feel the vibration of this energy. Bring this white light down through your neck and shoulders and out into your heart center, which is just in front of your breastbone. And slowly come back. We'll now join in a prayer together for the Mother Earth. I'll put the prayer up on the screen and I'll go through it slowly so that we can all say it together. This prayer is directed to God, but you can use Jehovah, Great Spirit, Brahma, whichever you prefer. Let's now raise our hands and all join in this prayer. O divine source of all life, may your love go out to the Mother Earth for her great sacrifice. May your light go out to the Mother Earth for her profound compassion. May she be blessed now and always. And I think now it would be good to join in a prayer for all of us as well, to help us along our spiritual journey. So please raise your hand again, and let's join in this second prayer. Almighty God, which is the light which shines through and behind all things, we pray that your wondrous power of love may fall upon our troubled world now. May it fill the hearts and minds of all those who are suffering and in need at this time. May it manifest as a great healing light to give comfort to those who are sick. May it uplift those who feel abandoned in their loneliness and despair. May it inspire those who have the responsibility of world leadership to bring lasting peace to our planet. O wondrous God, may we be given the power and strength to reach forever inwards and upwards towards our divinity, so that we may always be mindful of the oneness of all life. And when we finish a prayer, we do the sealing mudra. We swipe the right hand over the left, and this cuts off the energy flow. Well, thank you all very much for joining in the prayers this evening. I hope you all had a wonderful experience. I think we have just enough time for some questions, but before we do that, I'd like to mention that immediately following this service at 12blessings.org, that's 12blessings.org, you can join in saying the 12 blessings with other people all around the world. It's a 30-minute service, and I welcome you all to check that out. Let's now go to a few questions here. Will the Mother Earth wait forever for us to change? What can we do to help her? That's a very good question. The Earth will not wait forever for us to change. I think she'll wait as long as she can, but at some point she will have to move on with her evolution. So the best thing that we can do is raise our consciousness, raise our vibrations, and the best way to do that is to give service to others. Can you tell me, is the ionosphere keeping energies out or the energies from the primary initiation in? The ionosphere is keeping energies from reaching us and reaching the Earth from other planets. And that is detrimental to the Earth as well as to us. I think the energies that this person is talking about is the energies that the Mother Earth received in her primary initiation. And she hasn't yet released these energies because she's buying us time to evolve and to raise our consciousness, to become ready for the new age to start so that we can carry on living here. But at some point, she will have to release these energies, and the ionosphere is already gradually being taken down, so we'll start to receive more energies gradually. But in addition to that, separate to the ionosphere, she will start to release her energies as well. Is not the idea that Earth has psychic centers a key idea we could be researching, and how our consciousness can affect such things? Well, the Earth does have psychic centers, and she has many more psychic centers than we do, probably. We have major psychic centers, I should say. We have 7 major psychic centers, and the Earth has more major psychic centers than that. And we can research these to the best of our ability, but I think the only way really to properly research these is to raise our consciousness enough so that we can go into meditation or samadhi and gain these great truths that the Earth has to tell us. But I think at our current level of evolution, it would be difficult to study these on a more scientific level. I think science hasn't yet caught up with the spirituality of the Earth. I do see we're running out of time here. I just wanted to say that some of the books that I mentioned this evening will be in the description, and I think we'll also put them in the chat. If I haven't been able to answer your question, please feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to respond to you. And if I don't know the answer, I will look it up for you. And thank you very much for joining in this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. And I welcome you all to head over to 12blessings.org, and God bless.